My name is Heather Dunn. I'm 27 years old, and I've spent the last 7 years building the life I once thought was impossible. As an interior designer in Miami, I poured every ounce of my creativity, energy, and late nights into one dream: owning a place that was entirely mine. When I finally bought my sleek, sunlit penthouse in downtown Miami, it felt like more than just a home. It was a symbol of my independence, my resilience, and every sacrifice I'd made to get here. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every grocery run, all of it came from my pocket. I turned the master bedroom into a sanctuary, a quiet space where I could sketch late into the night, take client calls, and just breathe. For a brief moment, I believed I had carved out my own peaceful corner of the world. But then everything changed. My parents announced they were moving in, not by asking, but by showing up with suitcases saying they wanted to enjoy city life during their retirement. I tried to be understanding. After all, they raised me, and I thought I owed them that much. I let them stay in the guest room, telling myself it was temporary. But peace didn't last. One afternoon, without warning, my brother and his wife showed up, bags in hand, acting as if they owned the place. The air shifted immediately. They weren't just planning a short stay. They had intentions, and at the top of their list was my master bedroom. Their demands grew bolder by the day, pushing my patience and my boundaries to the breaking point. This wasn't about space anymore. It was about respect. And I was done letting my family treat my hard-earned home like a free-for-all. If you were in my place, would you let them stay or show them the door? Tell me how you would handle it in the comments below. A few days after my parents moved in, my apartment turned into a chaotic mess. My mother, Pamela, a retired bank employee, and my father, George, a former accountant, had settled into the guest room, but their presence was just the start. My brother Shane, self-proclaimed entrepreneur, and his wife Holly showed up with suitcases and a sense of entitlement that threw my penthouse into disarray. Clothes were flung over my furniture, extension cords crisscrossed the floor, and their outdated gaming console sat on my dining table like an unwelcome centerpiece. I'd spent years making this Miami space a haven for my interior design work, but now it felt like a storage unit. Every corner I turned, their stuff blocked my path, from sneakers in the hallway to half-empty coffee mugs on my counter. The financial hit came fast. I was paying for everything. Electricity bills doubled with their constant streaming, and charging water costs spiked from their endless showers, and grocery runs for 5 people ate into my savings. I'd built my design business from nothing, budgeting carefully, but now I was funding their lifestyle. Shane never mentioned contributing. Instead, he lounged in my living room boasting about his online business revolution. He'd go on about some vague e-commerce venture, flashing his phone screen as if it proved his success. "This place is massive for one person," he'd say, his tone sharp like I was hoarding space. I clenched my jaw, trying to stay calm, but his words stung. Holly didn't help. She'd sigh loudly, complaining that the pull-out couch in the guest room was barely livable. She'd wander into my kitchen, rearranging my spices to make it homier, as if I'd invited her to redecorate. One afternoon, I found her using my high-end blender for smoothies, leaving it sticky and unwashed. When I asked her to clean it, she huffed, "It's just a blender, relax." Her dismissiveness made my blood boil. She was treating my home like a free Airbnb. I started noticing their disregard wasn't just careless, it was deliberate. Shane's behavior pushed me further. My workspace, a corner desk with sketches and client proposals, was sacred. But he began treating it like his personal dumping ground. One morning, I found his backpack slung across my chair, crushing a set of floor plans for a client's condo. "Move this," I told him, pointing at the bag. "It's not a big deal," he replied, smirking as if my work didn't matter. His loud business calls started bleeding into my client meetings, forcing me to mute my mic mid-sentence to avoid embarrassment. I could barely focus. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Shane wasn't planning to leave. Their suitcases, once piled by the door, were now unpacked, their clothes stuffed into my closet. Holly's toiletries crowded my bathroom, and Shane's energy drinks took over my fridge. My penthouse, my refuge, felt like foreign territory. Every step I took, I was dodging their chaos, and the tension was mounting. I wasn't just irritated, I was ready to take my home back. One evening, Shane pulled me into the living room to talk. He stood by the couch, arms crossed, acting like he was about to pitch $1 million deal. "I need the master bedroom," he declared, his voice dripping with confidence. "It's perfect for my business office." "You don't need all that space, do you?" I was floored. The master bedroom was my sanctuary, where I sketched designs and met clients over Zoom. I'd paid for every inch of this penthouse, and now Shane was acting like it was his to claim. His audacity made my stomach churn, but I held my ground, staring him down. This wasn't just about a room. It was about him trying to take over my life. Holly chimed in from the kitchen, stirring a coffee she hadn't paid for. "The master suite fits Shane's vision," she said, as if I was running a charity for their dreams. She leaned against the counter, her tone casual but pointed, like I was unreasonable for wanting my own space. I could feel the tension rising, my pulse quickening. They'd been freeloading for days, and now they wanted to dictate how I used my home. It was absurd, but they were dead serious. I took a deep breath and laid it out. "I pay for everything here: the mortgage, the bills, the groceries. That room is my workspace. I need it for my design projects." My voice was steady, but inside I was fuming. Shane didn't even blink. He leaned forward, his smirk infuriating. "You're being selfish," he snapped. "This is about family. You're sitting on all this space while I'm trying to build something real." His words cut deep, twisting my generosity into greed. I wanted to scream, but I kept my cool, refusing to let him spin the narrative. Then my mother stepped in. She'd been hovering near the doorway, listening quietly until now. "Honey, maybe you could compromise," she said softly, her tone pleading. "Shane's trying to get back on his feet. You've got so much. Can't you share a little?" I couldn't believe it. My own mother siding with him. She'd watched me grind for years to afford this place, and now she was guilting me into giving it up. Her words felt like a betrayal, piling pressure on me to bend. I looked at her, searching for a hint of understanding, but found none. Shane seized the moment, doubling down. "You don't even use half that room," he said, gesturing toward my bedroom door. "I've got calls, meetings, big plans. You're just doing your little designs." Little designs? My career, my livelihood reduced to a hobby in my own home. I clenched my fists, the urge to snap back almost overwhelming, but I didn't. Instead, I stared him down, letting his words hang in the air. He thought he could bully me into submission, but he was wrong. The weight of their demands pressed down on me. Shane's arrogance, Holly's entitlement, my mother's guilt-tripping it, was a coordinated attack on my boundaries. I felt cornered, like a stranger in my own home. But something shifted inside me that night. I wasn't going to let them steamroll me. This was my space, my life, and I was done playing nice. I made a silent vow to protect what I'd built, no matter what it took. The line had been drawn, and I wasn't backing down. After a long day at work, I was stunned when I walked into my home. My laptop, usually perched on my desk in the master bedroom, was now shoved onto the coffee table in the living room, surrounded by my design boards and a stack of client contracts. My heart sank as I realized what had happened. My personal space, the core of my design business, had been violated. I stormed to the master bedroom, my pulse racing, and found Shane's gym bag and Holly's makeup case sprawled across my bed. They'd moved their stuff in, rearranging my sanctuary like it was their own. My sketches were pushed to a corner, replaced by Shane's cheap laptop stand. The audacity hit me like a slap. They hadn't just crossed a line, they'd bulldozed it. I found Shane lounging on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "What is this?" I demanded, pointing toward the bedroom. "You need to move your stuff back to the living room now." He didn't even look up. "We're staying there," he said, his tone smug. "It's better for my work." "You'll manage." His dismissal made my blood boil. I'd paid for every square foot of this penthouse, and he thought he could just take it. I stepped closer, my voice sharp. "This is my home, Shane. Get out of my room." He laughed a cold, mocking sound and leaned back. Good luck enforcing that he taunted as if I was powerless. Holly walked in holding one of my coffee mugs. "You don't know how to share, do you?" she said, her voice dripping with judgment. "We're family. Why can't you let Shane have what he needs?" Her words stung, framing me as the villain in my own home. I wanted to scream that I'd been sharing, paying their bills, buying their groceries, but I held back. Holly stood by Shane, her arms crossed, acting like I was the one being unreasonable. Their united front felt like a betrayal piling on the pressure to give in. I wasn't just fighting for my room, I was fighting for my dignity. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone and called Jenna Walsh, my best friend, a 28-year-old media strategist who always had my back. They moved my stuff out of my own bedroom. I vented, my voice shaking with rage. Shane's acting like he owns the place, and Holly's backing him up. Jenna listened, her calm voice cutting through my anger. "This is your home, Heather. They can't do this. You need to talk to a lawyer, someone who can protect your rights." Her words were a lifeline, grounding me when I felt like I was drowning. She didn't just sympathize, she gave me a plan, urging me to stand firm. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, my laptop now back in my hands, and started researching. I pulled up articles on property rights in Florida, skimming through tenant laws and homeowner protections. My penthouse was in my name, every payment traceable to my account. Shane and Holly had no legal claim, but their boldness shook me. I found a local attorney's website and sent an inquiry detailing how my family had overstepped. The act of typing it out felt like reclaiming control. I wasn't just reacting anymore, I was preparing to fight. The violation of my space lit a fire in me. Shane's smugness, Holly's accusations, and the chaos they'd brought into my life were too much. I wasn't going to let them walk over me. Jenna's advice echoed in my mind as I bookmarked legal resources and jotted down questions for the lawyer. My home was mine, and I was ready to do whatever it took to protect it. This was no longer about family, it was about my right to my own life. The next morning, I woke up to a text from my father. "Please reconsider giving Shane the master bedroom," he wrote. "He needs a space to grow his business and turn his life around." I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. My father, who'd taught me the value of hard work, was now asking me to hand over my sanctuary to someone who'd never paid a dime for it. His words felt like a punch, implying Shane's vague ambitions trumped my career. I'd poured everything into this penthouse, every mortgage payment, every late-night design project, and now my own father was siding against me. It wasn't just about a room anymore. It was about respect, and I was losing it from the people who should have known better. Then I overheard my mother in the kitchen talking to Shane. "You deserve that space," she said softly, her voice full of sympathy. "She's being too stubborn." My heart sank. My mother, who'd cheered my successes, was backing Shane's entitlement over my rights. The betrayal stung deeper than I expected. Both my parents, who'd raised me to stand up for myself, were now pressuring me to cave. I felt like an outsider in my own family, their loyalty clearly with Shane. I wanted to confront them, but the weight of their words held me back. I needed to think clearly, not react out of hurt. Later that day, I opened my social media and froze. Shane had posted a rant calling me selfish and stingy for hoarding my penthouse. "Some people care more about their fancy lifestyle than family," he wrote, twisting my refusal into greed. The post had dozens of likes and comments from his friends, strangers, even distant cousins piling on with insults. "Spoiled one," called me. "Ungrateful," said another. My chest tightened as I scrolled through the venom, my reputation as a designer taking a hit. Clients followed me online. How long before this reached them? Shane wasn't just invading my home, he was attacking my name. That was my breaking point. I wasn't going to let Shane's lies define me. I made up my mind, no more backing down. I'd fight to protect my home and my reputation no matter the cost. I called Jenna my best friend, who'd already proven she had my back. Shane's trashing me online. I said, my voice steady despite the anger. I need to know my options. Jenna didn't hesitate. You've got this, she said, then sent me a list of local attorneys specializing in property disputes. She also forwarded articles on defamation and how to counter false narratives online. Her practical support gave me a clear path forward when I needed it most. I spent the afternoon diving into the resources Jenna sent. I found a lawyer with a strong track record in tenant disputes and drafted a detailed email outlining how Shane and Holly had moved into my bedroom without permission. I attached proof of my mortgage payments and utility bills, all in my name. The more I documented, the stronger I felt. This wasn't just about kicking them out, it was about reclaiming my life. I was done being the family doormat. My phone buzzed repeatedly as my mother tried to call. Her name flashed on the screen, each ring a reminder of her siding with Shane. Just give him a chance, she'd probably say, echoing my father's text. I let it go to voicemail. I wasn't ready to hear another guilt trip, not when I was finally taking control. The tension in my home was suffocating, but I wasn't bending. Shane's public attack and my parents' betrayal had pushed me too far. I couldn't let this drama drag on any longer. That evening, I called a family meeting, gathering everyone in the living room. I stood tall, my voice firm. This is my house, I said, looking at Shane, Holly, and my mother. I've paid for every inch of it. Shane, Holly, you need to pack up and leave by the end of the week. The words felt like a weight lifting off my chest. I wasn't asking anymore, I was demanding. This penthouse was my home, my achievement, and I was done letting them treat it like a free ride. The air grew heavy, their faces a mix of shock and defiance, but I held my gaze steady, ready for whatever came next. Shane leaned back on the couch, letting out a mocking laugh. You're not serious, he said, his eyes glinting with arrogance. You won't do anything. We're family. His words dripped with condescension, as if my boundaries were a joke. He crossed his arms, daring me to prove him wrong. Holly, sitting beside him, nodded smugly, her silence backing his challenge. Their confidence infuriated me, but I refused to let it shake me. They thought I'd cave under the family card, but I was past that now. My home wasn't their playground, and I wasn't backing down. My mother stepped forward, her face etched with worry. You're tearing this family apart, she said, her voice trembling. Can't we work this out? Shane just needs time. Her plea hit me hard, but not in the way she intended. I saw the pattern, her always siding with Shane, excusing his behavior. I shook my head. This isn't about family unity, I replied, my tone sharp but controlled. It's about respect. I've given enough. She looked away, her silence louder than words. I hated the tension, but I wasn't here to please everyone, I was here to take back my life. The door opened and Jenna walked in, holding a folder of legal documents. My best friend had come through again, this time with hard evidence from the lawyer I'd contacted. These outline your rights as the homeowner, she said, handing me the papers. No one can stay here without your consent. Her presence was a game changer, the documents a shield against their manipulation. I flipped through the pages, seeing clauses about property ownership and trespassing laws in Florida. Jenna's calm confidence bolstered mine. With her by my side, I felt unstoppable. Shane's smirk faltered as he saw the papers, but he didn't say a word. For once, he looked uncertain. I turned to the group holding up the documents. If you don't respect my rules, I'll take legal action, I warned. This isn't a threat, it's a promise. My voice didn't waver, and I meant every word. Shane's eyes narrowed, but Holly shifted uncomfortably, her bravado fading. My mother's shoulders slumped, but I didn't soften. I'd given them chances, paid their bills, endured their disrespect. This was my line in the sand, and I was ready to enforce it. The room fell silent, the weight of my words sinking in. They knew I wasn't bluffing. Later that night, I checked my phone and saw Shane had posted another rant online, doubling down on his lies. Some people choose money over family, he wrote, painting me as the villain again. But this time, I wasn't rattled. I started drafting a public response laying out the truth. I'd supported them, paid for everything, and they'd violated my trust. I wasn't going to let Shane's narrative win. With Jenna's advice, I planned to post it calmly, professionally, to protect my reputation as a designer. This fight wasn't just for my home, it was for my name, and I was ready to take it on. After 3 days of no one backing down, I decided to take action. I hired a moving service to haul Shane Hawley, my mother, and my father's belongings out to the front yard of the building. The movers worked quickly, stacking their suitcases, Shane's laptop stand, and Holly's makeup cases in neat piles under the Miami sun. I stood by the door watching as their personal chaos was removed from my penthouse. It felt like reclaiming my space piece by piece. My heart raced not with fear but with resolve. I'd given them enough chances, now I was done waiting. The movers handed me a receipt and I nodded, knowing this was the first step to ending their takeover of my home. Shane stormed back from a coffee run, his face red with fury when he saw the piles. "You're insane!" he shouted, pointing at me. "I'll sue you for this." You'll see his threat echoed in the courtyard, but I was ready. I pulled out the legal documents Jenna had brought, holding them up. "This proves I own this place." I said, my voice calm but firm. "You're here without my consent. Try suing me." Shane's eyes widened, but his bluster faded when he saw the papers. I'd consulted my lawyer and every step was airtight. My name was on the deed, the bills, everything. His empty threat only fueled my determination. My mother appeared, her eyes brimming with tears. "You're betraying your family," she sobbed, clutching her purse. "How could you do this to us?" Her words cut, but I didn't flinch. I'd heard the guilt trips before, and they no longer swayed me. "I've supported you all for weeks," I said, my tone steady. "This is my home, and you've disrespected it." She turned away, wiping her face, but I stood firm. Her tears were real, but so was my resolve. I wasn't the villain here, I was protecting what I'd built. My father stayed silent, standing behind her, his face unreadable. Their disappointment stung, but I refused to let it weaken me. I got a text from Jenna. She'd just posted a detailed thread on social media laying out the truth about Shane's behavior, his freeloading, his lies, his invasion of my home. "Let's set the record straight," she wrote, attaching a screenshot of her post. It was sharp, professional, and undeniable, calling out how Shane had twisted the narrative to paint me as selfish. She included receipts, my mortgage payments, utility bills, all proving I'd carried the load. I read her words, feeling a surge of gratitude. Jenna wasn't just fighting for me, she was exposing the truth to protect my reputation as a designer. Her post was already gaining traction, shifting the narrative in my favor. By evening, I checked Shane's latest online rant. His usual crowd of supporters was quieter now. A few of his friends commented, questioning his story. "Sounds like there's more to this," one wrote. Another asked, "Why aren't you paying rent?" The tide was turning thanks to Jenna's post. Shane's lies were unraveling, and I could see the doubt creeping into his circle. It wasn't just about my home anymore. It was about my name, my work, my life. I wasn't going to let him drag me down. Jenna's support gave me the leverage I needed to keep pushing forward. I called one last family meeting that night. "You have 3 days to find a new place," I said, looking at Shane Hawley, my mother, and my father. "If you're still here, I'll escalate this with my lawyer." My voice was unwavering, my decision final. Shane scoffed, but Holly looked nervous, her eyes darting to the documents on the table. My mother shook her head, muttering about family loyalty, but I didn't budge. I'd given them time, money, and patience. Now I was giving them an ultimatum. This was my home, my life, and I was taking it back no matter what they thought of me. It all ended, but not the way my family expected. The court hearing was swift. My lawyer presented the deed, my mortgage records, and proof of every payment I'd made for the penthouse. The judge ruled in my favor, confirming I was the sole legal owner. Shane's threats to sue crumbled. He had no case, no claim. I walked out of the courtroom feeling lighter, my home officially mine again. The victory wasn't just legal, It was personal. I'd fought for my space, my peace, and won. The judge's gavel was the final word, closing the chapter on their attempts to overrun my life. I was free. Shane and Holly scrambled to rent a cramped apartment in the suburbs. Their lavish spending habits, designer clothes, takeout every night caught up with them fast. Without my financial support, they struggled to pay rent, their business dreams sidelined by reality. I heard through a cousin that Shane was borrowing money, but no one was eager to help. Their entitlement had burned bridges, and I felt no guilt. They'd made their choices, ignoring my boundaries, and now faced the consequences. Holly's social media went quiet, a stark contrast to her usual boasts. My mother and father moved in with distant relatives, but their welcome wore thin. Their habit of bad-mouthing me, calling me selfish for standing my ground, didn't sit well with the family. Cousins and aunts stopped inviting them to gatherings, tired of the drama. My mother sent me a text pleading for reconciliation, but I didn't respond. Their betrayal, siding with Shane over me, left a wound that needed time to heal. I wasn't ready to forgive, not when they'd dismissed my rights in my own home. Their isolation was their own doing. Shane's online attacks backfired spectacularly. Jenna's post exposing his lies with receipts had spread widely. His friends, once quick to pile on, now distanced themselves. Comments on his rants turned skeptical, with people questioning his story. "You lived rent-free and still complained," one wrote. His credibility as a businessman tanked, and his follower count dropped. My reputation as a designer, however, stayed intact. Clients reached out praising my professionalism after seeing the truth. Jenna's support had been a game-changer, turning the tide against Shane's narrative. I was grateful for her loyalty. With my home back, I threw myself into my career. New design projects poured in, and I set up my office in the master bedroom again, where it belonged. The quiet of my penthouse felt like a gift, every corner reflecting my hard work. I reorganized my space, savoring the freedom to live on my terms. The ordeal taught me a hard lesson. Boundaries aren't just important, they're essential. Even with family, I had to draw lines to protect my peace. I wasn't selfish for it, I was strong. That clarity gave me a new sense of purpose. Looking back, I realized setting boundaries was the only way to preserve my sanity. Family doesn't get a free pass to disrespect you. My home, my rules, it's that simple. I learned to stand firm no matter how much guilt they threw my way. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. My life was mine again, and I'd never let anyone take that away. I'm stronger for it, and I hope my story resonates with you. Thank you for listening to my journey. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? Drop a comment on YouTube and share your story. Let's talk about how we protect our peace even when it's hard. Your support means everything, and I can't wait to hear from you.